Hi, I'm Jamie Catania of Shovel the Sidewalk. We're a marketing firm in Buffalo, New York, building brands and creating advertising for small businesses. And we utilize the power of authentic storytelling. That's why we created Sidewalk Talk. It's a way for business owners, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs to share stories of inspiration, motivation, and education. And on today's episode, I have Brian Trzeciak, if I pronounce his last name correctly, of Buffalo Maritime Center. Brian, appreciate you being on the show. How's everything going?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me, Jamie. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we actually met when I was at a previous job, took care of you. I was in the seafood department, and we reconnected recently. I had asked you, what you were doing, and you were telling me about Buffalo Maritime Center. And for those that don't know, it's actually located in Buffalo, New York. It's a nonprofit. And Brian, I'm hoping you can explain a little bit more about what Buffalo Maritime Center offers and how you actually found out about it and got into it.
Sure. All right. Well, so yeah, it's good to see you after all these years, by the way.
Absolutely.
Helped me out back then, and this is a great thing. So appreciate it. So the Buffalo Maritime Center is an intergenerational community learning center that focuses on promoting craftsmanship, a craftsman-like attitude, and preserving the maritime heritage of Western New York, right? So everything we do is connected to that. We run programs like our hand-to-hand student boat building program, where we teach kids how to build a wooden boat, but while they're doing that, they're learning STEM principles, science, technology, engineering, and math. But they're also learning, what we'll call life skills, how to work with a team, how to have pride in what they do, and things like that. Really getting back to the tangible world, which right now it's a little bit difficult to get back to the tangible world. But we're doing our best. We're putting some content online and whatnot. But in the center, which is a 28,000 square foot center at 90 Arthur Street in Riverside, section of Buffalo, we have community boat building projects. And people can come in and they can learn how to work on a sloop of war from the War of 1812, the USS Trip, and learn how to really work with tools that they would work on back in the day. We also have projects like the 1825 Erie Canal packet boat, Governor DeWitt Clinton's packet boat called the Seneca Chief, which opened up the Erie Canal. And I don't know if you've been down to Canal Side lately, but there's this structure being erected down there, being built, that will eventually house a 73-foot long by 12.5-foot packet boat, which was basically, the buses back, in 1825 that and the trains that took people back and forth from New York City to the West. And we're going to be starting that in October, and we want people to be a part of it. We want to build it with the community. We want to build it with the public. We want people to see it being built and ask questions and learn about the Erie Canal. And I could talk more about this in a bit, but the Erie Canal is a wonderful human feat of engineering. But there's some dark history that goes along with that. We want to tell the entire story of that, right? So all that is together with what we do here at the Maritime Center, and what we value is really promoting this community. Now, how I got involved was that I was working as a community organizer at the time, and I wanted to get back to making things. My past, by the way, I was a toy designer at Fisher-Price. I was an English teacher. I did community organizing, and then I wandered into the Buffalo Maritime Center to build a surfboard or a paddleboard. And I was down at a local store, West Marine. I said, it'd be great if they had a place where people could just build boats. And then the guy was like, yeah, it's down the street. Go see Roger. I was like, you're kidding me. So we walked in there, and I met Roger Allen, who is now the master boat builder, was then the executive director. And we hit it off. And then I met John Montague, the founder of the center. And we had a deal that if I were to clean out the attic, which is this huge, now the loft where we're drawing the 73-foot long boat, I can build a paddleboard. So I did that. And I basically fell in love with the place, and I said, I want to stay here. So I actually stopped my job, my other job, and I started working on the floor here. And then on the side, I started making more paddle boards. I had a few people who they believe in me that we can do this paddleboard thing. So I made a few, and it just got to be a really fun thing to do. So I then moved my shop to where I live now, but I still make things. And I eventually became the executive director of the Maritime Center. A lot of learning went into that process. I'm still learning to this day. But it's such a wonderful thing to be a part of this community and to, on any given day, have to drive a forklift, have to put on a chine log on a boat, or have to balance a budget because of something called COVID, things like that. So it's a lot of variation in this job, and I'm very lucky to be a part of it.
That's amazing. And, you brought up COVID right now. During the time of this recording, we're living through a pandemic called COVID-19, impacting everybody, small businesses, medium businesses, huge companies. What are you, since you guys deal with the public right now, and a lot of people still might not feel comfortable. I know I was one of the people just kind of locked down, but, leaving the house now, wearing a mask when needed be. What are you guys currently doing right now for the public to keep in line with proper protocol for COVID-19, and just ensuring that people are still able to come down and build?
Sure. So as you can see right now around my neck, I have my mask, right? So just in case somebody walks through that door and wants to talk, mask goes right on. Safety is our first priority of everybody here. We're only comfortable with opening when we had the proper sanitation stations that are throughout the shop, where we had a system in place and a plan in place according to, that it's compliance with the CDC and New York State. So last week we opened. When people come in, they all sign in. Everybody is masked, and if you can be 6 feet apart, then you can forego the mask. But as soon as you walk within that, the mask goes on. So as I'm walking around the floor today, Tuesdays are generally pretty busy in the shop. There are volunteers coming back in. They feel more comfortable about this. And there are people with masks on. There's sanitizers everywhere. We're taking the precautions we need. And it's really up to the people, like if you feel comfortable coming back in and doing that. So it is my job and our staff's job to help you feel comfortable, but not only just in writing, but in practice too. So that's something that we totally value, and we invite anybody to come down. If you're going to have a big group, I ask that you give a call first and schedule that, but our doors are generally open.
Awesome. Yes, everybody's doing their part to ensure, we're containing this. And again, people, not every single person is going to feel comfortable, but it's great knowing that people are still able to, participate and see what's being built. I mean, this is history right here. And I can't stress that enough right now. With what you're doing with the STEM program, I'm hoping you can go a little bit more into that. Some of the work you've done with the Buffalo Public Schools, and would love to hear some examples of some of the work that you guys have done.
Sure. So we work with schools like the Western New York Maritime Charter School. We work with Buffalo Public Schools, Riverside Academy, and the Academy School. And we have actually just formed a partnership with the St. Mary's School for the Deaf. And there's some great kids that come in, and they come in a couple times a week, and they make a boat called the 6-Hour Canoe, right? And this is a boat that you can make out of 2 sheets of plywood, and the Riverside kids do the same. The Western New York Maritime Charter School kids are working on the Olmsted skiffs. And these are the boats that, if you're from Buffalo, Hoyt Lake, right? Right at the Albright Knox Gallery, the Marcy Casino. They make the boats that people can rent throughout the summer. And actually, they're open right now. And you can see, actually, there are 4 flamingos that have added to the livery there, in addition to the rowboats. So the idea is to get as many people on the water to experience what it's like to be on the water as possible. So these kids make these boats throughout the year. And during the process, they're learning about things like buoyancy. They're learning about math, right? So the one thing I always say is, I never really liked math in high school, but when I started applying it to things I was building, fractions became a game. And it became so interesting to me that I can rattle off these things left and right. And, you tell a student that, and they don't get it until all of a sudden you ask them what half of 3/16 is, and they throw out that answer very, very quickly. They're like, wow, I didn't know I even knew that. So you start seeing the kids throughout the process, build this relationship with these mentors who come in with such a background and a love of giving back, right? And these are typically older white gentlemen and a few ladies as well, who come in and they want to be a part of the next generation, right? So we work primarily, like a lot with kids of color in the Buffalo public schools. And it's such an interesting thing to have them share their relationships back and forth to the point where, at the end, when they put their boats in the water, there you see that pride, you see that accomplishment happening, and all the mentors are crying, right? And the kids are just, a lot of times they build this boat, and the question they always ask is, what happens when it doesn't float? And it's like, no, it's going to float, it's going to work. So we put the boat in the water, and there's, some of them have never been in a boat before, but all of a sudden they take to it, and then you can't get them out of the boat. And that's an experience that they will learn and they will have throughout their lifetime. And hopefully that will inspire them to take on different things. And this could lead to becoming a designer. It could lead to going into the Carpenters Union if you feel like it, or essentially saying that I am going to do that thing because I'm going to choose to do that thing. And that's really what the program is about. So we're, unfortunately, the program got cut short last year. We're hoping it picks back up in the fall because this is something that this is the bread and butter and what we are at the Buffalo Maritime Center.
It's all amazing stuff. I mean, it's one of those things too, where going back to learning and being a kid, not everybody learns one way. And I like how you brought up when it's applied to using your hands and you're creating something, that the math that's being applied actually makes more sense.
Right.
So I love what you guys are doing. I would like to know, actually for our audience too, what is the best way for somebody if they want to help support this? Because nonprofits, are having a very difficult time right now with COVID. But I know that there's people out there that would want to support something like this. What is the best way for somebody to get a hold of you directly or Buffalo Maritime Center in general?
Sure. Well, especially during this time, as you were saying, I think nonprofits and everybody's hurting. Our organization is feeling the brunt of it as well. But this is something that we hope will dissipate over time, if people keep up what they should be doing and all that stuff. But to get involved, one thing I would say is go to our website, right? You will see that, first of all, you can get on our email newsletter. We don't send out many. We send, every couple of weeks or something like that, but it keeps you up to date with what's going on, especially when it comes to the Packet Boat Project and some really interesting events. Like we're having a public opening of the Longshed down at Canalside in October. So we want to tell the public about that to get involved. But we encourage people to become members of the Buffalo Maritime Center. And when you're a member, you can be a part of the shop. You can come in and get on a project. You could actually just use our shop after you go through a safety orientation and things like that. But it keeps the Buffalo Maritime Center doing what we want to do, which is to keep our organization, our educational programs afloat and keep that going. So that's something I would say. I would also say if you want to drop a line to info@buffalomaritimeCenter.org, or you even email me at Brian, BRIAN, @buffalomaritimeCenter.org. And just, if you want to set up a tour, or if you want to come in and talk with me or any one of our staff or volunteers about the best way to get involved and to support this program, that would be something that I would very much encourage.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about spreading awareness. And even from like your situation, you were looking for something, you asked somebody a question, where's the nearest place? And it was right down the street. So it's all about investigating and finding things that relate to you. So I appreciate you sharing that information. Again, for those listening right now, buffalomaritimeCenter.org, correct, Brian?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. We're going to be wrapping this up. Brian, I love closing out the show with, words of encouragement or for advice for either somebody that, is in a career that they're unhappy with, or that college graduate that, they just finished school and they're not sure, where their path is going to start. Hoping you can share some advice of what you've learned.
Yeah, it's a heavy one, but luckily I read a line the other day that has stuck with me. And I think it's something that makes a lot of sense now. And I've heard this line before, but for some reason in my 40s, it's like it's sticking with me now. But what you pay attention to grows. Now that line right there, what you pay attention to grows. So if you are building a garden and you keep on seeing these flowers or the vegetables and you are just become obsessed with it, it will literally work. It will grow. If you are interested in boat building and you have no idea how to do it, you start learning about it, that will grow in you too. Same as frustration. If you get frustrated with the world, if you get, some sort of negativity and you pay attention to that negativity and the idea that the world is going a certain way, that feeling and that mentality will go in you. So I would say that anything you want to do in life, if you get that idea that this is the thing that I want to pay attention to and foster, it will happen.
Great advice, Brian. Appreciate you sharing that with us. You can stream all of our podcasts by visiting shovelthesidewalk.com and clicking on the Sidewalk Talk podcast tab. If you or you know anybody with a story to share, feel free to fill out the simple form and we'll get back to you right away. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been Sidewalk Talk.